Today is Saturday, October 28th. Halloween is just around the corner, and the spooky holiday is more popular than ever before. We'll get into this year's top trends, including the most popular costumes and some last-minute ideas later in the show. But first, we wanted to learn more about the history of Halloween. Halloween and paranormal expert Lisa Morton is here to teach us. She's a screenwriter and award-winning author who literally wrote the Halloween encyclopedia and even more about the holiday. She explains how a night of pranks morphed into the family-friendly tradition that is trick-or-treating. Plus, why haunted houses, scary movies, and jack-o'-lanterns became part of the fun. And the two specific things that spread Halloween's popularity all around the globe. Welcome to the Newsworthy Special Edition Saturday, when we sit down with a different expert or celebrity every Saturday to talk about something in the news. Don't forget to tune in every Monday through Friday for our regular episodes, where we provide all the day's news in 10 minutes. I'm Erica Mandy. It's now time for today's Special Edition Saturday. Lisa, thank you for joining us here on the Newsworthy.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So first, just give us the basics of the history of Halloween. I'm sure there's a lot to it, but where did Halloween come from? How did it get started? Give us a few of the key points.
It actually goes back several thousand years. It was originally celebrated by the Irish Celts, and it was their New Year's celebration. It was called Samhain. It was a time when the days were getting very short and cold, and they were hunkering down for a long winter. And because of that, they thought it was a night when borders were down between our world and another world full of really scary things called the Sidhe. And they thought the Sidhe could cross over on Samhain night. And that's kind of where Halloween gets its more macabre side from. And then when we get the Christian missionaries coming into Ireland to convert these Celts, they moved the date of All Saints' Day from May 13th to November 1st. And that is probably an attempt to co-opt Samhain, take it over, make it into a Christian holiday. That eventually works, although of course it takes centuries.
So was it kind of celebrated or was it feared?
It was celebrated because it was their New Year's celebration. It was a time of feasting. They had just brought in their livestock from the fields. They had a lot of extra food. They had apparently a 3-day long feast. And one of the things they did during that feast was tell scary stories. And I think that is probably where Halloween gets its macabre side from.
And I know you've made a point to say that Halloween and Mexico's Day of the Dead are very different celebrations. Can you explain more about that for anyone who might not know?
The Mexican Dia de los Muertos is kind of what you get if you send those same Catholic missionaries to a very different part of the world, not to Ireland, but to Mexico. They come into Mexico and they take their All Saints and All Souls Day and use those to co-opt some existing traditions, especially two Aztec festivals that were held to honor the dead. And that's why you get this same holiday, but it looks very different. It's celebrated very differently. Most of Dia de los Muertos is much more somber than Halloween. It's less about partying and more about respecting and honoring your loved ones who have passed on.
So how did Halloween evolve into the holiday that we celebrate today? And what's changed since those early days?
The way it boils down is it is celebrated for a long time in the British Isles, and it is a night of partying, feasting, telling fortunes. And then when famine hits in the 1840s, the Scottish and Irish immigrants are coming to America. They bring this holiday with them, and very soon it has spread throughout America. It becomes quite beloved by about 1900, although at that point it is mainly a night when kids are playing pranks. And those pranks are innocent and fun at first, but eventually by about the 1930s, those pranks move into the cities and become very destructive. That's when we get trick or treat, because the cities get the idea of buying these little pranksters off with these parties in which the kids are given costumes and treats, and the kids learn to say this phrase, trick or treat. And that is kind of firmly established about the time that World War II hits. So when I hear all the time people thinking that trick or treat goes back hundreds or thousands of years, it doesn't. It is less than 100 years old.
Oh, wow. And so how long did that transition take? Did people just accept trick or treat right away?
It took a few years. When it kind of was most firmly accepted is when we see the first national magazine article about it, and that's 1939. And it is an article that was in a magazine called American Home, and it was called A Victim of the Window Soaping Brigade. And it is essentially a how-to on how to stage a party to buy off these pranksters. And it definitely includes saying trick or treat and putting the kids in costumes and giving them popcorn balls and cider and donuts.
Why do you think people are so drawn to elements of Halloween, whether it was back then or today?
One of the great things about Halloween is that you can watch a scary movie, go to a haunted house, and you know that you are in a safe environment. But you are getting to explore your fears. By the time that experience is done, your heart might be racing, but you're laughing. You've had a good time, you've survived, and it can be a little bit of a boost, I think.
How long have haunted houses and scary movies, that aspect that you just mentioned, how long have those been around Halloween?
Well, haunted attractions really started in the 1960s, and they started with, of all things, nonprofit organizations like the JCs, the Junior Chamber of Commerce. They found that holding these haunted houses was a really good way for them to make some money for the organization. And then in the 1970s, we get the campus organization, Campus Life, coming in and staging these things, and they kind of up the gore factor. And at that point, it starts moving into things like the amusement parks, which are looking for some way to boost their fall income because it's kind of their low time. In terms of scary movies, I always point to John Carpenter's Halloween, 1978. It was a massive cultural bombshell because up until then, Halloween was still largely something that was kind of fun and whimsical for kids. And despite some of the threats to trick or treat, the urban legends about razor blades and apples and so forth, this movie comes along and suddenly Halloween is very scary. And it never quite, I think, recovered from that and has remained scary since.
And is the jack-o'-lantern just part of the fall aspect of it? Where does that come from?
The jack-o'-lantern is based on an old folktale that is found in many parts of the world, often called either Stingy Jack or Jack the Trickster. Jack was supposed to be a blacksmith who repeatedly tricked the devil out of taking his soul. So when Jack died, heaven obviously wasn't going to let him in, but hell didn't want him either. The devil ended up throwing him a burning hell ember that he put into a carved-out gourd, and he uses that to light his way through the sort of twilight realm forever. So the Irish were the ones, I think, who started this, carving these faces into these gourds. They didn't have pumpkins, and putting them out on Halloween night and hoping that someone might turn a dark corner, come upon this thing, and immediately connect it with the stories of Jack.
Do you think it's spread through the globe because of technology and just people being able to share their own traditions with each other and then other cultures take it on? What do you think the reason for this globalization has been?
Oh, it's gonna surprise you. It's very specific. It's two things. The big one is American sitcoms because they are syndicated all over the globe. Things like The Simpsons and a little farther back, Roseanne did really great yearly Halloween episodes. I mean, obviously The Simpsons with the Treehouse of Horror. People were seeing those things all over the world and saying, that looks fun. What is that? And the other thing that spread it was fast food retailing. McDonald's coming in with their Halloween Happy Meals all over the globe. And when people see these things, they see the whimsical orange pumpkin and they see the kids in costuming and they think, my kid would look cute that way and would love the costuming and the candy. It's easy to see why it has become so popular, I think.
So for this year's Halloween, data shows Americans are really getting into the spirit of the holiday. The National Retail Federation reports nearly 3 in 4 Americans are celebrating this year, which is a new record. And the group expects total spending on costumes, candy, decorations, and more to reach a record more than $12 billion. Next, I'm joined by Party City's Vice President of Merchandising, Odette Welling. She's sharing this year's most popular costumes, her top tips for last-minute costumes on a budget, and why she thinks Halloween is causing so much excitement and extra spending this year. But first, a quick break for our sponsors, starting with Lumi. I am so excited to tell you about it because it's my favorite new deodorant. Again, it's called Lumi, and it's a uniquely formulated pH-balanced deodorant. It's aluminum-free, paraben-free, skin-safe, and clinically proven to control odor for up to 72 hours. In fact, while I mostly use it for my underarms, it is a whole-body deodorant if you want it, the first of its kind. So that means it's seriously safe to use anywhere on your body. Pits, feet, belly buttons, and beyond. The truth is, the deodorants that I've loved in the past just were not working for me anymore, so I needed something new. And I found it. Unlike some deodorants that try to mask odor with a fragrance, Lumi is formulated and powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts. Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes that are both perfect for on the go, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a Lumi starter pack with the code NEWSWORTHY at lumideodorant.com. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you visit lumideodorant.com and use the code NEWSWORTHY. That's Lumi, L-U-M-E, deodorant.com with the code NEWSWORTHY. This episode is also brought to you by BetterHelp. Whether you need a little help figuring out what it is you actually want, or you know what you want, but your brain sort of gets in its own way, you're not alone. And therapy can help so you can work for yourself instead of against yourself. And let me be clear, therapy can be helpful even if you have not experienced major trauma. Learn positive coping skills, how to set better boundaries, and ultimately be the best version of you. In fact, I like to think of it as going to the gym, but for my mental health. And if you don't know where to start, give BetterHelp a try. It's online only, so it's really convenient and flexible. You can get matched with a licensed therapist really quickly, and you can communicate with your therapist in whatever way makes you feel most comfortable, messaging, phone, or video. Make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/newsworthy today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/newsworthy. Okay, now to our conversation with the Vice President of Merchandising for Party City, Odette Welling. Odette, thank you so much for joining us here on the Newsworthy.
Thank you for having me.
First, I want to hear about what's driving that extra spending and excitement and momentum this year.
The data, it's showing that more and more adults are getting into the spirit, but it's coming from parties and decor, right? So those really big statement pieces that you see go viral. We have a few of our own. And also just getting back into that party mode, if you will, after COVID and a tough couple of years. I think adults want to have a holiday that they can kind of claim as their own, which is exciting. You know, a Halloween is certainly for kids, but it's also for adults.
You mentioned the viral items. What are you seeing? What are you expecting in terms of those viral items or that decor that's going to really be popular this year?
Yeah, so we're seeing it across, a couple of our competitors, ourselves as well. This year it was Rattles, our 5-foot groundbreaking skeleton. So a giant skeleton that looks like he's pushing himself out of the ground, which is just really cool and one of those centerpieces. But these viral items, they're oversized, they're big, they're decor pieces that, you'll slow down your car for just to stop by the house and check it out, which has been really, really cool.
Let's turn to, I think, everyone's favorite topic, which is costumes. What are the top trends this year in terms of what people are dressing up as?
Barbie is the number one costume this year for sure, which is super fun. And also interesting, our Ken and Barbie costume is selling 1-to-1. So, where I would have assumed Barbie would have just taken off, Ken is right there. So that's pretty fun and cool. And then, of course, social media, like pop culture type of costumes like Taylor Swift and Kelsey. We're seeing a lot of DIY there, so dressing up like Taylor and maybe you're using a red jersey as a great couple's costume this year. And then Beyonce, she was huge just all season for us. So a lot of mirror ball hats and shiny glittery things that we sold during the concert season. Definitely a top seller. And we're seeing, this shift into fright, a little bit scarier and edgier costuming, not only just in adults, but with kids as well. So we're selling kids costumes in proper horror properties like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Ghostface and Chucky. We have the Bride of Chucky costume this year for girls. So we're seeing that trending and not slowing down. But also from a costume perspective, like family and group costumes, right? So a lot in our licensed properties, like Guardians of the Galaxy or Incredibles or Ghostbusters, but also this desire for like this teen, kind of younger 20s customer who wants to dress as a group, but look unique and different in their own right. So a lot of DIY costuming.
So I'm curious what your top tips are for people who don't want to spend a lot of money but still want to dress up, as well as, haven't planned anything and they have a couple days to find something last minute before Halloween. What are your tips for those two people?
On a budget and but want to, participate, I say keep it simple. Do something classic. Angel Devil is a classic costume, really easy because you can wear something basic and then accessorize it. A witch is always easy. Everyone typically has a little black dress, and then you can, add a hat or something simple. And then makeup can go a long way. Spend some time on a YouTube tutorial and make that your centerpiece. And then we like to say on our stores, like, when in doubt, gore it out. So add blood, add special effects. You can be, anything a zombie, just by adding some blood to it. So that's always fun.
Going back to the spending piece for a moment, are there any items that are higher because of inflation versus other ones, and any impact on people's spending?
Yeah, of course, I think inflation is an impact to this year. I think most notably we're seeing, candy be inflated. I think last year that was the big thing, how much is a bag of 5-pound chocolate versus the years prior. So I think that's top of the consumer's mind because, you buy candy to give out to all the trick-or-treaters at your house.
Any candy trends this year, or is it all just like buy the big bag?
Buy the big bag, give it out. I was asked in a different interview about healthy candy trends. I'm like, we have it, but it doesn't outsell the just normal chocolate.
What tends to be your busiest day ahead of Halloween?
Well, this year, Halloween's on a Tuesday, so it shifts every year just based on that. Thursday for that Friday night party, Friday for that Saturday night party. And then Monday for just last minute, oh shoot, my kids' dress up day is the next day.
Should people expect long lines? What is it like in store?
Oh gosh, I know. It's so crazy. It's fun. I remember like when Black Friday was a huge thing, Best Buy especially, they'd have all their deals and, folks would line up outside at 1 a.m. and they just kind of made it a thing. You kind of have to go into shopping for Halloween with that mindset, right? Lines are going to be long, but it's going to be so fun picking out your costume, talking about your party. So just trying to make the best of it.
Anything else Halloween specific that we need to know this year?
I think when it comes to decorating, it's all about food. People always gather around food. So spend your dollars on the table scape and add that extra spooky flavor to it. And then at the end of the day, it's just fun to celebrate with friends, right? So if you're in a head-to-toe deluxe costume or you're just a witch or an angel or devil, keep it fun, have fun, and participate.
Well, thank you so much to both of our guests. If you're still in need of costumes and spooky decor for your Halloween celebrations, head on over to partycity.com. Party City also has more than 850 stores across the country. And definitely check out all of Lisa Morton's published works, including the books Trick or Treat, The History of Halloween, and The Art of the Zombie Movie. And she has more. Her website is lisamorton.com. The Newsworthy will be back tomorrow with a special bonus episode, so be on the lookout for that. But until then, if you're looking for another podcast to listen to this weekend, then search for The Jordan Harbinger Show. My friend's podcast, The Jordan Harbinger Show, was named Best of Apple in 2018 for a reason. Jordan dives into the minds of fascinating people, from well-known names like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Mark Cuban, and a past interview with Kobe Bryant, to the likes of mobsters, hackers, and hostage negotiators, offering unique wisdom in every episode. You'll learn something new with each conversation, and sometimes it's connected to a news topic we're talking about here, like the episode where he talked to a former U.S. ambassador to Russia who says he's still being trailed by the Russian government. Jordan has a talent for getting his guests to share personal stories and thought-provoking insights. And it's not just these in-depth interviews either. In his weekly segment, Feedback Friday, he responds to listener questions about everything from asking for a raise at work to helping a family member escape a cult. Search for The Jordan Harbinger Show. That's HARB as in boy, IN as in Nancy, GER. The Jordan Harbinger Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, again, we'll be back tomorrow with a bonus episode, and then again on Monday with our next 10-minute news roundup. For now, have a great weekend and happy Halloween.